to celebrate the eternal spirit that guides us through difficult times. We are gathered here to demonstrate our common resolve against the perils of unattended and visible wounds. Misunderstood and even mistrusted, these injuries cut across the fabric of society, taking lives and destroying families. As we struggle to bring this reality out of the shadows and into the light, one common goal unites us: the preservation of life. Among our service members, veterans, first responders, victims of abuse, crime, and disaster, and each and every member of their families. We are gathered here today to honor their sacrifice and to foster their healing without bias. Whether received in combat across the ocean or right here on the streets where we live, the consequences of prejudice and neglect are the same for all. The daily loss of life from post-traumatic stress injuries is not just a military problem. It is a challenge to our entire society, and one that we can only conquer by all working together.
The more combat exposure you have, the higher risk factor you are for development of PTSD, depression, and unfortunately suicide. But fortunately, there's also protective factors, and the most important ones, which Tim highlighted, are leadership and social support. So even though you go through the most damning experiences, with that social support and with that leadership, you can get through it with a concept called post-traumatic growth. Learning to get through your experiences, learning to grow, to become a new person, a new meaning in life, really reaching your full potential in life.
First of all, we're trying to get that there is a physical injury to this organ, the brain, that happens when we are too close to images of death and destruction and the transformation of a human being into something that's not human anymore. We see it. And God forbid it's someone who is very, very close to us. I think the person who carries the label should determine the label. And I'm part of the group that created that label in the first place. I didn't mean for somebody who carries the wound to feel that we're telling you, you who we admire, that you are a disordered person. But if you're injured, that's a step toward the Purple Heart. And why not have a Purple Heart when this medical wound is earned in honorable engagement with the enemy?
Post-traumatic stress is a human condition. How can you define a trauma? For me, the firefight wasn't the trauma. For you, a bad day at work, getting fired. You now have a mild form of post-traumatic stress. We utilize post-traumatic stress to train our children. We create a trauma so that they can remember. When we discipline our kids, okay, you've done this, so now you're grounded. Oh, mom, oh, dad. We put them through discomfort to help them remember the negative consequences of their actions. Because of that discomfort, every time they have the possibility to make a choice between right or wrong, they're like, man, I could be grounded. Wow, that would suck. But it's who we are. Post-traumatic stress, we all have it in a way, in a small amount.
The times have changed. We are finally speaking openly about the phenomenon of PTSD. We are breaking through the stigma and the misunderstanding, and that makes us that much more able to address the wounds directly, honestly, and effectively.
Our Parity for Patriots report also calls for the Purple Heart Award for warriors with psychological wounds. This is a controversial issue. However, awarding the Purple Heart for combat-related physical wounds and not for combat-related psychological wounds like post-traumatic stress is discrimination. The Purple Heart Award should be awarded for combat-related post-traumatic stress to help eliminate stigma and discourage veterans and service members to seek treatment.